We are here with David Levy, the former president of Turner, and now the Horizon Sports and Experiences co-CEO. David, thank you so much for being here.
Molly, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
David, you and your agency have really been investing in and creating around women's sports, which is so white hot. Maybe the most high profile work in that space has been Unrivaled, which is launching tomorrow. HSNE is an investor, and you also helped them with their media strategy that landed the league with your old company, TNT Sports, with a $100 million deal over 3 years with a 3-year opt-in. What was appealing to you about this 3-on-3 property?
First of all, just the timing of when the launch is and what's happening in this women's sports space. This isn't kind of like a moment in time. This is a movement. This is actually really truly happening right now. And every metric that I looked at over the last 2 years are just growing like straight arrows up, whether it's attendance, whether it's viewership, whether it's brand dollars shifting into the women's sports space from leading brands, whether it's sports betting. I work very closely with the DraftKings and the FanDuels of the world and knowing what they're seeing. Now, it's still nowhere near NFL football betting, okay, but you're seeing tremendous triple-digit growth in betting on women's sports and specifically the WNBA and the NWSL. And by the way, we all know if you bet on a sport, you're 95% more likely to watch. So just the actual universe of what's happening around women's sports made it very, very interesting for HS&E to think about investing in this property because, in my years at Turner, you realize that, not often do you get an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of something that we believe is going to grow and grow very quickly. You take the top 36 WNBA players in the league, -1, as we all know, and you put them on a basketball court. Well, this isn't like a new league. I mean, the names on the back of the jerseys are well recognizable names, whether it's Stewie or Nafisa Collier. There's just tons of brand names that are out there that are playing in this game. It wasn't hard for HS&E to figure out and think, is this something smart to invest in? And then, being the agency that worked on the media rights, as well as we're actually the agency of record for their sponsorship sales, it was a nice synergy of what we do here at HS&E, which is we do media consulting and we help with sponsorship sales for leagues and teams and so forth. So it was a perfect match and it was the right investment. And we're happy to get started this Friday.
David, I'm the numbers nerd around here. Like, that's just my title. I got a card here somewhere that talks about my nerddom. But the audience numbers for Unrivaled, what should observers kind of be looking for on TNT and True TV? Like, what were those numbers discussed about in your media rights talks?
TNT did their own estimates for this, as well as True TV, because we know we have 2 nights on TNT and we have 1 night on True TV. I think what I like about this package for a new league is it's not spread out across different platforms and different media companies. So it's concentrated with one media company, which is Warner Brothers. And I think, knowing from my past experience there, and I viewed it firsthand, I don't think there's a better sports studio production team that can come up with content around halftime shows, studio shows, pregame shows, and so forth. I'm very excited about the opportunity to actually expand onto Bleacher Report and House of Highlights. So I think from a new league to have those kind of quality brands and have it be centralized into one media company is going to be helpful as we start thinking about those ratings, because fans will know where to go and fans will know where to tune in. I don't know what defines success as far as ratings are concerned right now. It's a new league. Certainly I believe with the brand names on the back of the jersey, we'll see some successful ratings, but it's a growing league and it's a new league. And so just like TGL, which launched last Tuesday, I think they're going to continue to figure out how to grow ratings and how to grow fan bases. I mean, to me, success is, are people following on social? Are people sharing on social? Are people talking about it? I mean, part of it is just having heat around the event itself and the league.
You talk about TGL, and I think there's a corollary there. A TGL without Tiger Woods, and we're talking about Unrivaled. You said, all the best WNBA players -1. Caitlin Clark, not ruled out for the future, but how much did her name kind of come up as you were making the rounds on media rights?
I got to be honest, this league wasn't developed and launched with one person in
Mhm.
mind.
That's fair.
Sure, and I think Alex, the president of Unrivaled, as well as Brianna and Nafisa, of course, Caitlin's always welcome. But I think this league's going to be very, very, very successful. Angel Reese, I mean, the brand names are just there, and the excitement is there.
And the names that are coming, you got Paige Becker's coming. I mean, we're already looking forward to players that are coming next season.
Juju's got equity in it.
Yeah, Juju bought equity. Paige is there. Cameron Brink, by the way, what can't even play this year, but is down there and is practicing with her team. This is going to be successful. The athletes like it. You need to train in the off season anyhow.
Mhm.
This is a great way to train with the best of the best in the business. Coaching. There's a performance center. There's all sorts of things to help advance these players for their WNBA season coming up after.
And listen, it's a different sport. Like Caitlin Clark has never played 3-on-3, and as you said, David, this is something I will. This is the hill I will die on. You got Sabrina Ionescu, you got Fee, you got Stewie, you got all these big names. I actually asked a couple of my friends to do a watch party this weekend, and they told me, "Oh, sorry, we're gonna be in Miami."
It's a hard ticket. Listen, there's only 850 tickets in the entire arena. So it's a very, very, I mean, it's sold out. It's a hard ticket to get. Part of it's going to be, what is this 3-on-3? Now, this is unique. This is a full court 3-on-3, not full court as far as an NBA size court. It's a cut down court. Let's call it 2/3 of it, but it's a full court running game. And I think the athleticism of these women are going to really shine differently on a 3-on-3 game than a 5-on-5 game. And I think you're going to see a lot more action and highlights and things that you normally wouldn't see in a 5-on-5 game full court.
I think that's a really good thing to point out, because I think a lot of people do think it is that Olympic version of like a really half court 3-on-3. This is different.
It's very, very different. And, unlike some other 3-on-3 leagues, these are not retired athletes. These are the best of the best in the business. I'm excited to get going. I've been talking about this for the last 6 to 9 months. Listen, sponsors came in too. One of the things that you talked about, Molly, in the beginning, which I think is really unique and different and what HS&E has been focusing on here, is that, yes, you have the State Farms and the AT&Ts and the Verizons that are all shifting dollars into women's sports. But one of the categories that I think was missing is the beauty category. With our other event that we have at HS&E, which is the Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic, we went after that category and went after it and try to explain and talk with the clients that this is a great ROI for them, that the barrier of entry is at a very low level relative to men's sports. Most of these categories, Sephora, for example, they buy the Academy Awards, they buy the Golden Globes, they buy the red carpet type things, but they haven't shifted their dollars into sports because honestly, there wasn't really a large opportunity to get into women's sports over the years. And now things like Unrivaled and the WNBA. So, I mean, there's a glam room that's down there. Sephora completely sponsored it, and HS&E helped broker that deal with Unrivaled.
So I'm actually really glad you bring up the Women's Champions Classic, which Shark Beauty is the title sponsor of. That's the first year of this event. It was at Barclays Center, my hometown venue for my beloved New York Liberty.
Yes.
That basketball event was on primetime on Fox, and that had UConn, Iowa, Louisville, Tennessee. So how would you grade that event for you, Fox, and the schools?
A+. I mean, I had all the coaches, Gino, every one of them from each of the schools call me personally and say, honestly, for a first-time event, A+, felt like we were at a Final Four. Shark Beauty activated at the site itself. They actually did dry bars in the arena itself. I mean, when was the last time anybody saw a dry bar in an arena? And just so you know, that was between the two games, it was roughly 4.5 hours. Never was there not a line outside the dry bar. So pretty impressive numbers. Our partner Fox was promoting it during the Ohio State, Michigan games and all through the NFL game. So huge promotion for Shark Beauty. When that was announced, when the title sponsor was announced, I got more calls on asking me what Shark Beauty was. Because, listen, we're all very used to the Allstates and the State Farms and the AT&T and the Verizons sponsoring, and rightfully so. It's great for their brands and great for the products and a good ROI. But you didn't see the Maybellines and the CoverGirl makeups. I think that's going to be a big change in this marketplace, and it's a big category. And if they do it, which I think they will, it's going to lend to more women's sports getting on to media platforms and in better time periods and so forth. I'm already seeing lots of volleyball, lots of women's soccer, lots of, so as I said, this is not a moment, this is a movement. And nobody's doing this for charity. They're doing it because, and I'm saying on both sides, advertisers aren't going in and sponsoring these things because they think, oh, you know what, we should do so. They're doing it because the ROI is there. And the media companies are doing it because the ROI is there, right? They're not going to displace programming that's more profitable just to do this. So I think this is happening. And that's why HS&E is putting their money where their mouth is, whether it's the Shark Beauty WCC as well as Unrivaled. Is we believe in women's sports, and we have a few other things that we are hoping to launch in 25 and 26 that, again, is focusing on women's sports.
I was going to ask, can we expect a return for WCC in 2025 Will it be
yes.
at Barclays?
I can't tell you what venue it will be at. We're working on that as we speak. But yes, we originally closed. I wouldn't have launched the WCC without an anchor tenant, if you will. And what better anchor tenant than UConn, which is a staple in women's college basketball and one of the biggest brands out there. We have a 5-year relationship with UConn. So again, the objective of the Shark Beauty Women's Champions Classic is to have the best of the best, which means that it has to be a top 25 team. And as Gino hopes, we hope they have to be a champion at one point, meaning only champions should be able to play in the Women's Champions Classic. We'll get there. I'm not sure we're going to get there after in year 2, but as we continue to grow this, and again, what was one of the white spaces that we saw in the marketplace, and again, we thought about this almost a year and a half ago, that there really wasn't any early regular season tournaments for women. There were a ton of men, whether it's the Maui Classic or whether it's, Atlantis and so forth. And once in a while, there was a women's tournament, but it was sort of attached to the men's. It wasn't an individual just set in stone. And so, we thought, wow, what a great white space to enter into. Just like I think Unrivaled saw our white spaces, it solved a lot of problems. A lot of these women were having to go overseas to earn more incremental money and leave their families and go to foreign countries that they don't speak the language and so forth. Here, now they can stay in the States. They can bring their families down and they can earn a decent amount of money and sometimes more than they're maybe making in the WNBA. And we're proud that we're part of the movement to grow salaries in women's sport.
For a lot of them, it's more than they're making in the W.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Dave, I'm going to back into a motorsports media question here with a sponsorship question.
All right.
HS&E's assignments include Verizon's motorsports strategy and activation. That encompasses the Penske IndyCar team, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and NASCAR league rights for the Straight Talk Wireless brand. So both NASCAR and IndyCar starting new media rights deals in 2025. IndyCar heading over to Fox. The NASCAR Cup Series picks up Amazon and your former home, TNT, for some select races. From the brand side, good moves for these leagues.
I think so. First of all, Fox is, a leader, I think, in sports properties. I'm not saying that NBC wasn't a great home for it, but I think, anytime you get a new partner, it's like having a new child, right? You tend to hug it more. You tend to love it more. You tend to do maybe some things that are different and unique. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but at least you're trying new things and experimenting. From a IndyCar perspective, I think that's a great opportunity, great exposure. Fox is truly down to two things right now. They're down to news and sports. And so I think they have a real good concentration.
And a big investment there. All those races, broadcast exposure, that's huge for IndyCar at this time.
I think they needed it. Just to be fair to NBC, most of the races were also, I think all of them were on broadcast television.
They did make a heavy investment there.
It's not like they're now downgrading or upgrading. I think, from NBC to Fox, I just think having a new child and Fox is, obviously has done a lot of NASCAR, so has NBC. But I think that's a big win and a big opportunity for the Indy people. And as far as NASCAR, listen, you got to fish where the fish are at some point. And, Amazon certainly seems to be going to be the leader and the winner in this arms race, if you will, on the streaming services basis for live sports. Having NFL football, having the new NBA deal. They have one of our other clients won championship, which is an M&A product. They've got some baseball. They got a deal with the RSNs, and now some NASCAR. I think that is an attractive thing because if you're trying to grow your next generation of fans, you have to go where the fans are. And the younger generation, as you can see in some of the ratings that you see with the NFL and so forth, the younger generation is on streaming services. And so if I'm a league, whether I'm the NBA or whether I'm NASCAR, you want to start having some of your content, as well as the NFL is doing. You want to have some of your content where the next generation of fans are.
Yeah, this past regular season, Prime Video was around 7, 8 years younger than their linear TV compatriots there. It's just proof in the pudding.
I think it's a win-win for both NASCAR and for IndyCar. And I think it's a win, honestly, for Verizon and other brands that are associated with these sports.
David, it felt like the saga of the NBA media rights took up all of 2024. Given your long run at the helm of Turner, how did it feel when you finally saw that it came down that NBA games were going to be leaving TNT next season? And what do you make of the Inside the NBA show getting that sub-license on ESPN as part of that?
All right, two good questions. I'll tackle the second one first, which was the sub-licensing of Inside the NBA. I've been attached to that show for over 30 years, negotiated contracts with Charles and Shaq and Ernie and Kenny. And, I feel like they're family to me, and I still talk to them, on a monthly basis. So from that standpoint, I'm happy that the show is intact. I'm also happy that, honestly, I don't think that show, if it had different producers and wasn't produced out of the Turner studio, it wouldn't be the same. Tim Kiley, who's the executive producer on that, and Craig Barry, who leads the Turner Sports production, those two are incredible producers and directors for putting that show and making that show what it is today. You need to keep that, not just the people in front of the camera, but people behind the camera, to keep that show what it is and make that show what it is. So to let that be sub-licensed, I think that's a win for Turner. I think that's a win for ESPN because they wouldn't have licensed that show if they thought they had a better show. So they're actually getting the best, what I would call, studio NBA show in the business. Okay. So ESPN wins. And I think the NBA wins. I think the NBA wins because now their new partner, which TNT is not their new partner now has acquired the best studio show in the business, which only means the NBA is going to, keep its beautiness and keep fans coming to the networks. So NBA wins, ESPN wins, and Turner wins as far as Inside the NBA show. For me, I've won sports, I've acquired sports, I've lost sports. It happens. I think TNT is going to be fine. I'm sad if that's what you're asking. Would I've liked to seen it continue on Turner? Sure. But at the end of the day, Turner had other objectives and other, things that they needed to get done. Where the NBA fit in that, obviously, it wasn't worth the price for them. This is supply and demand business. So, there's only a limited amount of supply and so much demand, and they found demand at two other places. I think that's great that NBC is back in the NBA business. I think it's great for the NBA to be on broadcast television. Because as we know, there's a shrinking audience as far as universe-based in the cable side. And I think really, really smart to be on Amazon, as we spoke about earlier, which is fishing where the next generation of fans are. I think it's important long-term, and this is a 10-year deal, is where do you think Amazon is going to be in 10 years? Where do you think NBC is going to be in 10 years? And where do you think TNT is going to be in 10 years? So if you think about that from a long-term basis, maybe Adam made some smart choices and TNT might have made some smart choices as well. I think it's a very good deal for Adam, for the NBA. I think ESPN obviously maintained what they wanted. NBC got, quality programming for their broadcast channel. and Amazon, as I said earlier, I think that's going to be a huge win for them and for the next generation of fans.
All right, David, we have a couple quick hitters to get you out of here. Short and sweet, given your vast experience in the media landscape, need to pick your brain. So, UFC, big deal up this year. Do they stay with ESPN or does the streamer come in too?
I know ESPN loves the brand and has done wonders for that brand. The price may be just too high. I think it's a guess. I don't know, but I think it ends up on a streamer. And I'm not sure it's Amazon. I think it could be Netflix. I mean, Netflix has a relationship already with TKO in their WWE. Would it be a double hit with the UFC? I don't know. But I think the price is going to be high. I heard, I read like everybody else has read $1 billion. I don't know if ESPN's coming up with $1 billion. So maybe it gets split. Maybe there's a two partners in that, to be determined.
David, we've talked a lot about women's basketball in particular. NCAA women's tournament this spring. The numbers are going to be down without Caitlin Clark this year. But do you think that the rising tide keeps it well above what the numbers were before 2024?
100%. I really do. I listen, let's remind everybody that Caitlin Clark was not in pretty much the entire WNBA postseason. She played in the early rounds and they lost. And the finals had huge growth in it. And it was out without Caitlin Clark. So I would say that I believe the numbers will still stay strong. And remember, there was a lot of NCAA women's basketball games across many networks. She wasn't on all of them.
Yeah, so, I think I still owe Molly a steak from being so far under on that Game 5 WNBA prediction.
You were so wrong. So wrong.
Yeah. So listen, as I think the same thing with Unrivaled. I think, yes, we would obviously Caitlin Clark would help with the numbers, but I do believe the numbers are going to be strong because this league wasn't built around one individual. Although, just like I would say, I'm not going to say it's not true that if Michael Jordan was in a game, and what would the ratings be with Michael Jordan when Tiger Woods is playing, right? And he's in the last two groups and on a Sunday, that's going to change the ratings. So she would be a ratings lifter, but I still believe success and growth will still happen with or without that brand. I mean, I will tell you, Juju and Paige and I'm just not getting the name from Notre Dame. I think there's a lot of really strong brand names that are still pulling a lot of big numbers.
Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame.
Thank you.
There you go.
And Kiki Rice from UCLA.
These are big brand names that are pulling big numbers. Maybe not the Caitlin size numbers, but overall, you're getting I think a bigger pool. Because why? People are starting to watch and starting to recognize the names and starting to bet on the games.
Sticking with college, men's NCAA tournament. It's been with TNT Sports for well over a decade, obviously alongside CBS. And TNT has continued to invest in college sports, like their Big East deal last year. That NCAA tournament deal still has around 6 more seasons on it. Does TNT Sports remain part of March Madness well into the 2030s?
You and me, we don't have a crystal ball. I actually cut that deal, so I know exactly.
It seems like the never-ending deal.
Yeah, it was. I said when I cut the deal and signed the paperwork that I wouldn't be there when it ended, which, I guess I could have bet on that and was true. It ends in 2032. Who knows what the world will be like in 2032? So I'm not making a prediction on that. All I'm going to say, it was a great deal, a landmark deal in this industry, to be honest with you, with CBS and Turner pulling that deal off, myself and Sean McManus and our teams. And it's been a huge success across the board, both for CBS, for Turner, and for the NCAA. I think it's one of the best events on television when you can watch 4 games simultaneously at the same time on all different networks. So I'd be surprised they didn't bid on it. It's been a huge success. It's part of the portfolio. They have a great relationship with CBS.
All right, David, last one. By the end of 2025, do you see Warner Bros. Discovery striking some sort of merger deal with another big media brand? Maybe one that has a broadcast TV network?
I think David Zaslav always has interesting thoughts and ideas of how to, enhance shareholder value for his shareholders, as well as thinking about how to position himself for the future. I think he knows that he's got to figure out something. Staying as is, I don't think is an option. So whether it's teaming up or spinning out his cable networks, or whether it's teaming up with a broadcast company like a CBS or even a Fox. I just think he's out there thinking about what's best and what's the best combination. I don't have a time limit on that. I don't think there's a mad rush to figure it out. But I do believe, if you say to me in 5 years, will Warner Brothers Discovery look and feel different? I think in 5 years, the answer is going to be yes.
Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time. This was David Levy, co-CEO of Horizon Sports and Experiences.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time. Hope everybody's going to be watching Friday night.